Hey everybody!
Hi!
Welcome to
Keeping It Real
with Susan
and Chalese.
Yeah, Chalese just played back the last minute of our last episode, and to be completely honest, I'm thinking, yeah, don't air that.
But we already have.
We already have, and I think it brings us to
deep stuff,
really deep and really honest insight into life. And when she played it back, I was like, oh my gosh, I talked about suicide. There have been many times that not many, that sounds horrible, times I have been there in my life. The first one, and I'm going to ask you, so if you've been there, you need to speak up.
Oh,
but
I've been there.
The first time I had postpartum depression after my second child, Gregory, because Brandon and him are 18 months apart. So when I had a 9-month-old first child, I got pregnant, right? Went through all that, and that's rough. It's hard. It's really hard. Anyone who has kids that close together, you get it.
My brother and I are 13 months apart.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. So that first year, holy crap, it was hard. And Rick was at work all the time and at school, and I was taking care of the kids and trying to work from home and stuff, and really got to that point. I didn't realize it was postpartum. That has become a huge topic people talk about. But my kids are 25 and 24, right? So this is 24 years ago. I didn't understand what it was. So I remember getting there, and it wasn't like a selfish thing. And I don't feel like suicide is ever a selfish thing. Maybe. It was everyone in my life would be better off without me.
Yes.
That's where it was. So then after Rick died, I totally got there. And I remember talking to the counselors at the hospital about it, because it wasn't just, I was just going to take my life. It was, if I go, I'm taking all of them with me, because I'm not leaving them here. So that helped me move through that, right? And then, just recently, some stuff that's gone down. It's like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to be on this planet anymore. And this is super vulnerable to share. But how many of you have been there, and are you able to share it? Are you able to talk about it? That's something I called someone, I don't know, a couple nights ago. And they were like, have you talked to someone? Have you blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, I am talking to you. I know to save me, I have to talk about it. I have to state it. So where have you been with that?
Oh, so there's a couple of huge times in my life that I remember. One was actually before my son passed away, and he was only 2. And I just got divorced from his dad. He went back to North Dakota, and I was single mom and with this wild kid. And I only had one, but I didn't know how to deal with it. And honestly, I mean, my brother knows, my youngest brother, we're 5 years apart. He knows.
Youngest brother.
Yeah, my youngest brother.
Wait, so tell me
So there's me, and then there's my brother, Sean, who's 13 months apart. And then 15 months apart. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's good.
And then my youngest brother, and we're 5 years apart.
Okay.
And he was 18. He was a know-it-all. Of course, he knew more than me. And he actually didn't, right. Yeah. He actually was angry at me because with growing up, I was more of a more of a mom figure to him because my parents both had to work, and so I did a lot for my brother, and I helped raise him. And he was pissed at me for getting married I was 19. Everybody was pissed at me, and I didn't care because I was out.
Right. I gotta go.
Yeah. And so he was already, he was holding on to all this anger and resentment towards me. And we've worked through a lot of this, and I love my youngest brother is one of my best friends, and I absolutely love him.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Totally
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
Really good guy.
Yeah. And we have so much fun together. Yeah. And at the time we struggled, and he at 18 knew more about how to parent a child than I did.
Obviously.
And I remember this day, and he was screaming at me in my mom's front yard, screaming at me, telling horrible things about how bad of a parent I was and everything. That same thought crossed my mind. Everyone would be better without me.
Without me.
Including my son. He's with my mom. He's with, I can go. And that was the first time that I seriously contemplated killing myself. And this is hard for everybody that's listening to hear, and I get that. Right,
because some of us have had people.
Yes.
I have.
Oh, I have too, yes. And this is even hard for me because
But let's get real. Most people have contemplated it.
Yeah.
And to me, there's no judgment at all.
I was sitting in front of a track station, and I called the guy I was dating at the time. I called him and I was like, talk me down, come get me, because I cannot drive home. I couldn't even see. I was crying so hard. So I did save myself. I did.
Yeah.
With that phone call like that. And that's why if people are reaching out and saying I'm thinking about this, it's not a joke. Don't take it lightly. Be real about it. And say and so, I got through that moment, and there were many other hard moments, but I never got to that point until my son died. And I remember again laying in my bed and knowing I was living with my friend Rose at the time, and she had heart medications that I knew the amount I needed to take that would stop my heart, and I'd be done.
Yeah. And
I didn't. And I remember I again made a phone call and saying I don't care. And I talked to Rose. Of course, luckily I had people that I could talk to that would help me through those moments.
And let's be clear, we're just saying we made it through. That doesn't put any sort of judgment or I don't even know what the word would be to describe. Some people don't, and all I have is love and compassion for them and their family members, and that doesn't mean they didn't have someone to reach out to, or they didn't have because honestly, if I go back to what happened with Kyle and my friend that I reached out to and whatnot, they did not stop up for me. You can hear my voice. And I just had to do it. It was in the middle of the night, right? So there aren't a lot of people that I'm going to feel comfortable
and
texting.
And you've also been through a lot and know that you are capable of getting through anything. Really. When you really know, in the moment, the emotion drives thought processes. But you, as who you are in your full power and your full being, know that you can make it through anything. I know you, and I know that about you.
That's really nice. I don't know. I think about if something happens to one of my children, or, if something would have really come from that, or someone I really love, not someone I'm not, like there are people who have lived a really full life and it wouldn't be an issue for me, but like one of my children or something like that, I don't know, like that's kind that you look at me like that, because
I know you could.
That is a fear for me. Like, I don't know if I could, if I could live through that or would want to.
You know, I mean, I guess that's
and
something.
We're talking real. Here we go again.
Yeah.
Suicide.
But that's something different though between us, I think, is that like with our losses, the fact that I lost my child and I got through it. Well, I'm getting through it. It's a never-ending journey.
Right. So let's
not
that.
And I'm not, and this is a definite tender subject.
Right.
Because
right.
I'm saying another child to me is like, I don't know. Like, but at the same time, I do know because I've done it.
Right. So what I would say is losing a spouse, I've done. Let's flip that for you and for all of you as well and say, okay, you've lived through a child. Say, like, you're engaged, you're going to get married. Let's take it 10 years from now where you've had this deep, loving companion who you are working through stuff and living your life with and have gone all these places, and he goes. You haven't lived through that.
You're right. You are right.
It brings up stuff that's like, I don't know. So I have lived through the spouse thing. Like, oh my gosh, I loved that man. Such an amazing, and I still just think, man, my life, I just wish I could have him. I haven't gone through, other than a stillborn. I have gone through a stillborn, but, and I'm not minimizing. Again, I never want to minimize. I never lived with Noah. I didn't have him on a day-to-day basis. I didn't get to know his personality. Although I feel his essence and his spirit, it's a little different.
And it is like, even with me losing a 4-year-old compared to some people that I know that have lost their teenage children. Or
is it because I just kind of look at you and I clump you all into the same? No, different.
I don't know. I guess that's another thing. Like, if you haven't lived it, you can't say you can, and that goes back to the projection and the judgment of parents, right? Like, right. You can't say what you would do until you're there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so like
that's such a lesson I've learned.
I know.
Don't ever, and even like I've even thought, okay, so I did have thoughts. What would I do if I lost my husband? This is how I would act. Like, no, that's not really what happened.
Yeah.
And in it, I was like, oh, geez, I was naive. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I was so naive.
Because we can
I didn't understand this.
Yeah. We can say what we would want to see us do.
Right. Right.
Easy. Like, but once you're in the situation, and you know, the thing is too about suicide, because this is such a tender subject, and I have friends that have lost children to suicide. I have family members who've lost people. But I remember the first time I ever dealt with suicide. Not me, but somebody who committed suicide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was a senior in high school. And my friend was dating this guy, senior. We were seniors. She said, you know, I really want to go to college and I really want to do all these things. And he's like, well, what about us? And she said, we're seniors in high school. Like, the last thing I want to do is get married and have a family. Like, I want to live my life. Like, I don't know where this is going to go. And he wrote her a letter.
Oh, that's horrible.
About.
Okay. Yeah.
And he went up to the mountains and he shot himself in the face. And I'm sitting in his funeral next to her. knowing what the letter said, blaming her, 18-year-old girl. And I'm listening to them saying, he's in a better place.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was angry.
I'll bet. Yeah. Wow.
And I was that, and I didn't understand suicide at that point.
No, you can't.
And to this day, honestly, that situation, I still don't understand. So if you guys have a story, please share, because this is such a hard topic, but it's something that we need to talk about because it's something that's a thing right now.
Yeah.
Like, especially for teenagers, if you're not okay with life, what's the first thing you do? Like, it's a trend, and it's sad, and it's disgusting, and it's horrifying. So please share your stories, because we're all about love and giving and wanting to understand and wanting to help in any way we can. So we're going to take a short break because this is really heavy and we need to take a deep breath because I can tell we're both on the verge. Yeah, but yes, so please let us know your thoughts and we'll be back shortly.
Okay. Love you. Hey,
welcome
everyone.
Back.
Yeah, welcome back. We've just been, like Chalese said, can we hit play? And I said, oh God, no. This is deep. I need to sit in this for a minute. And then we've kind of talked for a minute. And then she said, can we let this play? And I said, sure. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
So we were just talking and she was saying that, she knows a friend whose husband committed suicide. And I actually have a friend whose husband also committed suicide. And I really think that it's important at some point to get people like this on our show, or parents who've dealt with children committing suicide or contemplating. I actually have a friend who I just did a podcast with not too long ago, whose son almost did and then ended up dying in a car accident. Oh. And what she has to say about it is really important. And he actually at 16 years old would go and speak to kids about suicide, because it's the other side of it. And that's the thing that I think is important, is that hearing family that's dealt with somebody who's committed suicide, hearing that side of it, I think does help. Yeah. Because then you see what would happen. And I remember when Caleb died, I was standing with Dave, my ex-husband, and we were standing there, and he's like, and I was talking to him, and I said, at least I don't have to suffer. At least he doesn't have to suffer without a mom. I will take that on, and I will suffer losing him as a child. But to know that your parent or your loved one is suffering, and seeing that side of it might help.
I don't know, that's just making me go to my kids who have watched me suffer. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have.
Yeah.
And they have, and you have seen them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Dad. But I think they as children took it on to protect me, because anytime they would talk, at first I would start crying. And so I remember them saying at some point, like, we can't talk about this around you. So I think there has been that buffer for them. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's important to say as well, we're talking about the families and the other side, being on the other side of that. It's also really important to talk, which I think we have really shined a light on, if someone has taken their life, they felt hopeless.
Yeah. They
felt there's a side that if you go into the feeling of it, to me, like, there's no judgment.
Yeah.
there is an excruciating pain inside of me that someone felt that.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is, you know?
And it's hard, and this topic is not supposed to be easy. This is not an easy conversation.
No,
and it's something that
well, and
many
you were
people
saying, so before, sorry, totally
okay.
interrupted you. Love you. I just transferred my son's schools, right? And one of the questions they had to ask me when I was transferring them is, can he be in suicide prevention? There's a suicide prevention class. You don't have, do you have kids in high school?
Not yet. Junior high.
I don't know if junior high does it too, but they actually teach a class.
Oh.
Every year.
Yes.
I don't know if it's the first half and then the second half, you know, but some of my older kids, it was hard because the person teaching or whatever, like the teachers knew their background, so they'd try to ask them questions as far as how it felt when you lost, like they had lost their dad, so how did it feel? And they really resented that. They had a hard time with that, so they always wanted to be opted out. And then like just going in to this new high school and going through all these questions for what I would allow Casey to be in, not be in. And that was one of the questions. And I sat there going, you know, because I knew the conflict my older kids had and him. And I was like, you know, absolutely he can be in it, because it's such a great thing to shine a light on.
Because, I mean, awareness is like, that's such a huge thing. Like being aware of your feelings and being aware of your circumstances, being aware of options, if you're, you know, and just talking about it in conversations that even if you are in that place and you are feeling those things and you are feeling alone and scared and hopeless, just having a conversation sometimes is all it takes to say like, like I'm feeling these things and oh wait, I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's such a huge thing that we're doing together, is that like you are not alone in anything that you're feeling. And if you feel like hopeless or whatever, you're not alone. You're not alone. We all feel it at some point, even if it's for a moment, like every single one of it, because we're human, right? Like we know that there are options to get out of certain situations.
Well, you have to be willing, and that's what I think I have felt in the past month or so. Well, and years back, like when Rick passed away as well, like you have to be willing to admit that it's on your mind. Yeah. I had, like, I actually reached out to someone in the past couple of weeks, and they were like, well, have you told anyone? And blah, blah. And I was like, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I've
had this conversation before, and I've had it with other friends. Like, we've gone to those places where it's like, I feel this. And we are, I mean, I think a lot of it is because of a lot of the healing that we've done, and we are very self-aware, and being self-aware is so important. And I wish that they would teach more of those kind of classes in school, like emotional intelligence, self-awareness, like leadership skills, like tools, given tools for coping with situations that they don't always know how to cope with. And we as parents, because of what I've been through, my kids are very aware of loss and heartache and trauma and things like that. It's an open conversation in my house. That's interesting.
Know. I wouldn't, like, that's cool. I don't know that it's an open conversation in my house, because we all went through the same trauma, and I don't know if we've learned how to talk about it really openly. You know, I have 4 really macho, if that's a word, is that a word? Like boys who are tough and play, you know, sports, and they're the jocks, and they're very, to some degree, self-assured with who they are. And would they admit something like that? Would they really talk about that? I don't know. And would they come to me? I don't know.
So how does that make you feel as a parent? Like, what, like, just from this conversation, like, what would you recommend to people, or what even in your own life, what takeaways could you have from this?
I think like there are just some situations that I mean, I don't know if I would deal with it okay, honestly. So they do have other people who have stepped up in their life, who they're able to talk about stuff like this with. And that's what I would say. Maybe I'm not, I mean, I would try, and I would help them, and I would probably put all my stuff aside. But the people who they are able to lean on and feel, can you push pause, please, for just a second? Okay, thank you to Chalese for pressing pause. I just, like, you could hear all the background noise, and I was like, so here I am talking about all being compassionate and kind to your children, and then I'm like, shut up!
Right? So that's what's funny. Like, okay, this will lighten up the subject, right? So, like,
in about 2 seconds, we're gonna hear it. I was like, Casey, and then I realized he's in the front yard.
Well, and you know what's funny is that, like, I think we all handle loss differently. And being a mom who's lost a kid, you should see sometimes the way I'm just like, get out of my face. I don't care. Like, I am not, like, I have no patience. Even though people are like, no, you're so patient. I'm like, no, I'm not, actually. I don't have any patience. Real. Knock it off. Okay, go outside. Why are you still here? Yeah. Like, stop being so clingy. What do you want?
Anyway, so what I feel is if you can step up to be that person for someone, you know, do it.
And they have suicide prevention hotlines for a reason, and I'm going to put that on here too, because I think that's important.
That's super important, because even if, let's really be real, if someone in your life has taken their life, are you not going to think about taking your life? If someone in your life has gone at a crazy young age, are you not going to, like, let's get real. Let's get really logic and real. You're going to think about that. And the shame that's put on that.
Because the pain that you feel is so intense that it's not fun to feel this way. It's not fun to feel hopeless. It's not fun to, like, go through life thinking that there's no meaning or purpose. And I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why we do what we do, is because we've been through so much. We want to help people get through these moments, and it is a moment to a moment thing. And just because, like, we're not professing that we're gonna heal you in any way, like, that's on you. Like, it's a process.
Do people heal though? Like, really, let's get real.
A moment. I think that it's a journey.
It is.
And you heal through moments. You heal through moving forward through those things. And
I think you make progress. I think heal is a strong word, because that gives people the connotation that they're going to be okay, and it's gone or it's done. I don't feel like that ever happens.
I do think
you make progress.
And I do think that there are moments and like even extended periods of time where you are okay. You will find joy. You will find joy. You will find happiness. You will find life. You will find the ability to thrive.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't mean that moment or the tragedy is ever going to go away, because it's part of your story. It's part of who you are.
Yeah, well, I mean, I go back to when, this accident and feeling like Kyle was gone, and having my night of just complete. And I remember in there thinking, does this ever go away.
Mm-hmm.
So where
your logical brain knows it does.
3 years ago, I was just in a different place, and it would have been like, oh, everything will be okay. I'll figure it out, blah, blah, blah. It's like that night was, I need to sit in revisiting this pain.
Yeah.
I need to sit in revisiting what I'm learning now and what it's bringing to my life now. And I don't know if those moments go away. I think, like I've said, I think we do these cycles of, okay, I'm here. And like you said, we have these years or months or whatever, where it's all good. And then we come to this other place, and I don't even want to say it's down. I'm going to say it's up here as well, because we're revisiting, we're looking at, okay, in that moment, and in like looking at what happened for me, I see how far I've come.
Yeah.
I'm not taking in other people's judgment. I'm not taking in, like, if someone doesn't want to be there for me, I'm not looking at myself like it's my fault.
Right.
I am saying, fine, you don't need to be a part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do that.
Or come to me when you're ready.
Yeah.
Like, I know I have a time and a place in your life, because there are many moments. We've been friends for almost 5 years now. And there's been many moments where we will talk every day for hours together. And there are moments where we will go for days, weeks, and a couple of months. Well, it usually doesn't last a couple of months, but weeks without talking to each other. And then when we come back, it's like we never missed a beat.
I mean, that's a great point. People come in and out of your life. They're always going to mean something to you. Mm-hmm. But are they that main person? And who is, like, I mean, ask yourself that. Who is that main person to you that you can really be open with? And it's not like we ever lost that, right? No. We haven't, and we don't. But there are different people that we lean on and don't lean on. And for
different situations. Yeah. And that's why I have, so many best friends. Like, I'm like, my besties. Like, oh, I love you.
That's a great way to say it, besties.
Yeah. Because they're people that mean the world to me, that I know I can rely on for anything, and won't judge me, but will be real with me too. So, and vice versa, like it goes both ways.
So I think, like, the question I want to throw out in this episode is, if you ever get there, if you get to a point where you're really questioning or feeling hopeless and wondering, like, do I even want to continue? Who make a list, like, who can you reach out to?
And do it before.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Like, do
right
it
now.
Mm-hmm. Like, who will I reach out to? Who do I decide right now I'm actually going to be vulnerable with in that moment and say, help.
Yeah.
Help me. And make sure there's a few of them, right? Because maybe they can't be there. Maybe they're not in a time of their place. Like she and I were just talking about, that you can be there. They can be there for you, whatever. Like, make 5. I would say make 5. Go down your list. Like, who is that going to be for you?
Yeah.
For me, I'm on that list for me, for myself. And it's not right or wrong if you are on that list for you. Just make it.
Yeah.
Make it. And reach out if you need to. Chalese is going to put the number down here when she edits. And
yep. And know that there's always an answer. There's always help. So thank you guys for watching. We are at time. So we look forward to seeing you next week. I think that next week will be our first guest on our show. And we're going to be out and about in the community. So it'll be fun.
It will be.
All right.
Okay. Love you guys.
Love you.
Mwah. Love you. Please reach out. You can reach out to me if you need to. Either one. Okay. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.